Welcome back to the Sartorial Kitchen, everybody, and boy am I elated to see you. That's right, today it's all about Mexican street food. I'm kicking things off with elote, street corn, and I've got some fun flavors to jazz things up a bit. Next, it is huevos con chorizos, eggs with Mexican sausage, a fun breakfast take on a street taco. And lastly, for dessert, it is sopapilas with an orange honey glaze and a dash of powdered sugar. So why don't you pull up a chair and dine with me?
Sartorial Kitchen, everybody. If you have not figured out from the title, we are doing Mexican street food today. I'm starting with elote. Now elote is a street corn. It's usually covered in mayonnaise and it's cheese, and it kind of bakes and gets all bubbly and delicious. But I'm doing things a little different today. I'm going to boil my corn first so it's nice and tender, and then I'm going to dress it up and throw it in my toaster oven for a hot minute and let those flavors get nice and toasty on there. So I've just got a little package of corn here. These are corn on the cob, and I'm just going to dump them in my water here. I've got some water boiling. To that, I'm going to add a good amount of salt. I always like to salt my water when I'm boiling things. For one, the salt helps to get the water boiling faster. Also, as things cook in here and absorb the water, they're getting that salt in there, and it's flavoring the, it's going to flavor the corn on the inside. And I'm just going to plop this in. And when the water's boiling, you've got it nice and hot, that corn is going to cook nice and evenly throughout. And I've just got some tongs here. I'm just going to push this corn around, make sure it's submerged so it cooks evenly throughout. Now while I let that go, and I think to help things along, I'm going to cover that and let it go. I've got it just on a medium heat. We're done with this right here. Now while that corn cooks, I'm going to set up my station to dress the corn. So we're using the toaster oven here, and I've got my little wire rack, and I'm just going to cover that in foil. That's just going to keep the rack from getting messy. And then I've got some grated queso here. Now, if you want to, I like the queso because it's traditional. You can kind of throw whatever cheese you want on. Now, normally, they use a mayonnaise, and that's just to get the cheese to stick. But I'm breaking out my garlic aioli again. I swear on this stuff. Okay, so the corn's cooking. I'm going to get a little bowl out. And we're just going to dump this cheese in here. About half the container. And get that evenly spread out. I'm going to go ahead and preheat my toaster oven. So just turn that on. And I've got it on bake. I want it on a between 350 and 400. Okay, I've got my wire rack ready. I've got my cheese out. I've got my aioli. I'm going to get a knife so I can spread that on the corn. And some paper towels. I want to dry the corn first. If you try to do this while it's still wet, it's not going to stick, and it's just going to make a mess. So I've got some paper towels here so I can dry the corn off. And let's see how these guys are doing here. Okay, let's see how these guys are doing here. You can tell they really brighten in color when they've cooked, and you can kind of tap on it and it's not too hard. You give it a little squeeze with the tongs. You have some give there. I think they are ready, so I'm going to turn the heat off and we're going to move on. Alright, we're going to take this corn out. I'm just going to set it right on the paper towel. I'm going to let those dry off. I'm done with this. We're going to set that aside. Okay, and this lid. And we're just going to roll that corn around on this paper towel, let it dry off. It is good and hot, so be careful. Alright, aioli time. I'm just going to squirt a little on my corn here, all the way across. And I'm going to take my knife and I'm just going to spread that out. All over. And continue that. Get a nice coating all over. This is what's gonna get our cheese to stick to the corn. And what I like about the aioli, it's got that garlic in it, that roasted garlic, so you're getting an extra flavor, layer of flavor that you're not getting from just plain mayonnaise. And you know I'm all about layers of flavor, guys. Okay, so now I'm gonna season this a little further, just a little salt and some pepper. And my secret weapon to really jazz this up, taco seasoning. And I'm just gonna sprinkle a little out here. I don't want too much, I want just enough to really jazz it up. Kind of spread that out. Don't be afraid to get your hands dirty. Good. Alright. Now we are ready to dip these in our cheese. And you can see the cheese clings to the corn beautifully. And I'm just going to set that on my wire rack. And our next piece. One more. Nice. Alright, now we're gonna flip these guys over and get the backside. It's already starting to get nice and dark. That's that cheese getting nice and bubbly. So good. Alright, I think our corn is just about to go off. I've got my holders there. I'm going to go ahead and shut this baby down. our corn out. Mmm. Isn't that delicious? Oh yeah. I am going to dig right in. Sometimes you'll see them garnish it with some fresh herbs, some cilantro, things like that. I think this is just good as is, and I wish you could smell it. It smells great. The garlic from the aioli, the taco seasoning, and that bubbly cheese. Oh, I'm just gonna come right in and get a nice big old bite. Mmm. Mmm. Mmm, it's so good. Fresh corn on the cob. I always love because the corn is always nice and buttery. You don't need a whole lot. The aioli just helps the corn melt in your mouth. That cheese gives it a nice punch. And then you got that zing from the taco seasoning. Mmm. So good, you guys. Yes. Alright. Just one down. Next it's going to be some street tacos with huevos and chorizos. Stay tuned. Alright, welcome back everybody. On to dish number 2, and it is huevos con chorizos. Huevos is just Spanish for eggs, and chorizo is a Mexican sausage. It's got a bit of a kick to it. So this is really simple taco. You just get your meat going. I'm going to use not quite half of this container. This package, sorry. And I'm just going to plop that right in. We get all of that out of there. And I'm going to save the rest of this for another time. So I'm going to grab some wrap here and wrap this up. I've just got a couple tablespoons of olive oil in my pan to prevent everything from sticking. And get all of that off of our knife. And to that, I've got 3 eggs here that I've already beaten. I'm just going to give them another little whisk so they get nice and frothy. So it's going to give you a nice fluffy egg. And then I've got my spoon here. Now what's great about chorizo, it's a little on the lean side, so it cooks rather quickly, and I'm just going to saute this up. You can see it's already getting nice and caramelized, and that's why I add the oil to the pan, because this is kind of a lean sausage and I don't want it to dry out. It's already starting to cook very nicely. I'm just going to go ahead and pour in my eggs. And I'm going to turn down the heat because I don't want the eggs to burn. And just come in quickly and give those eggs a good stir. While that continues to cook, I'm going to warm my tortillas here. I've got a couple mini tortillas here. I'm using my toaster oven once again. And I like to use the rack because what I can do with the rack here, I'm going to pull those out actually. You can set it in between the rack like this. And it gives you that taco shape you want. And then as it bakes and it gets nice and crispy, you're already going to have your shell. And I like to use the flour tortillas, and I'm just going to turn that down on a lower heat. Alright. That is my timer, guys. I got my oven preheating. We got some other dishes going on later. I'm just going to continue to give this a stir. We're going to season again. I already threw a little salt and pepper in my eggs while I was giving them a little whisk. We're just going to throw some more salt and pepper in there. You don't need to add taco seasoning or anything like that. The chorizo is well seasoned. It's nice. It has a nice punch of heat to it. Not too spicy, but a nice zing to it. And this is just about done. I'm going to turn it down. The pan's still hot, so this is going to continue to cook a little bit. And I'm just going to kind of let it rest. And that is pretty much it. I've got some more of my queso here just to kind of finish it off. And I'm going to go ahead and move this from the heat. And we will grab my tortillas. They only take a few minutes. I want to get them nice and warm. And I've got a plate here. I'm just going to go ahead and shut this off. Pull these out. Alright, time to plate it up. And I know a lot of times tacos, it's like, you know, taco meat, you'll have like pulled pork or chicken and lots of different garnishes, but I thought I would keep it simple. Eggs, chorizo, it's a nice kind of breakfast take on a taco. And that is good. And I'm just going to garnish here. I've got a little salsa here, kind of sauce. Just going to plop a little of that in there just to keep it moist. And then of course my cheese. I'm a cheese fiend. And sprinkle a little of that in there. And we're good to go. Alright, some breakfast street tacos. How about that? I just want to come in here so you can see all of that goodness. And we're just going to come in here and get a nice big old bite. Mmm. So good. So you get that like meaty breakfast sausage feel with just that kick. That is chorizo, eggs. You can't go wrong with eggs. Hello. The little salsa sauce there just plays nicely with the chorizo, kind of powers up that zing. And then the cheese, you gotta have cheese. So good, nice, soft tortilla. Just a perfect, quick breakfast. Okay, so lastly, I'm going to show you a really fun, quick and easy dessert. Stay tuned. Alright, we are back. Last dish. And it is sopapilas, which is fried tortillas. And I'm going to make a little orange honey glaze to go on them. And I've also got some powdered sugar. So this is a really quick, really simple dish to do. I've already got a plate out. I'm gonna line that with a paper towel just to block the grease. Now we're gonna start on the glaze. I've already got my little pot going here, and I'm letting it get nice and hot. I'm gonna throw in about a tablespoon of honey. The honey's just gonna give us a nice little sweetness. And then I've got a jar of orange marmalade here. And I'm just going to spoon some of that in here. A nice, generous helping of that. We'll put these guys up. And I'm going to let that cook down. What's going to happen is that marmalade, as it heats up, it's going to get nice and syrupy. And I like the acidity of the orange. It's going to give it a nice bright note. Desserts can be kind of heavy and cloyingly sweet, so it's good to mix it up with some different flavors. And I'm just going to stir that in. And then the honey's going to give it a nice little sweetness. It's going to help that caramelization process. And I just want to stir that in and let it get nice and warm. Okay, I'm just going to check my oil here. A little water on the fingertips. Splash that in. You hear that sizzle? That means our oil is ready. So I'm going to drop our tortillas in. And I'm just going to let that get nice and crisp on both sides. It should only take about a minute on each side. Got some tongs here so I can turn it over. And you can see it bubbles around the edge. You'll kind of see the edge kind of curl up and get a little color on it. That's when you know it's ready to flip. And my sauce, I'm going to turn that down because it is starting to reduce nicely. I'm just going to let you guys see that. Beautiful, beautiful. You've got that fleck of orange peel. Oh, so good. And it smells heavenly. It smells absolutely heavenly. Alright, we're going to give this guy a flip. The other thing I like when you're frying the tortillas, it starts to puff up nicely in the middle. So you get some different textures going on. And then I'm going to plop my other guy in here and let that start to fry up. And it's just a couple minutes, about a minute, minute and a half on each side. Just get it nice and crispy. We'll get rid of this fella here. Alright, and I've got my powdered sugar ready to dust them with at the end. Alright, this one I think is ready. I'm going to let that start drying off. I don't want a greasy dessert. I want a sweet dessert. So I like to use the paper towel, and then we're going to throw this one in, our last tortilla. Flip this guy over. I just love how it puffs up in the middle. You can see this one here, got that nice bubbly thing. This I'm going to turn off, it's boiling. To reduce this, you want to just bring it to a boil and then turn off the heat. And it's going to get nice and thick and syrupy as it cools. I'm just going to set that aside. And let's see, we'll turn that off. Okay, this one is good. I'm just going to blot the grease on this side. Nice. Set that aside. And I'm going to start building my dessert. I'm going to do it in layers, kind of Napoleon style. I'm going to take some of this orange honey kind of glaze and just spoon it on top. And then we take some of our powdered sugar and shake it right on there. Yum. Okay. Alright. Turn that guy off. Set it aside. Nice. And you can see how this has just puffed up beautifully. And I'm just going to blot that grease one side. And then turn it over and get the other side. And then again. Nice. And then we're just going to continue to build our dessert. More of the orange honey glaze. A little more powdered sugar. And our last one, and this one got a really beautiful color on it. I'm excited, guys. Brown food is good food. And just the rest of our glaze here. And more powdered sugar. I think powdered sugar is a really, really, really easy way to make any dessert look elegant. I love powdered sugar. Beautiful. And I'm just gonna come in here and give this a taste. It's street food, right? So we're gonna eat with our hands. And this is good and hot, so be careful. I think what I'm gonna do is just kind of fold this in half, like a little pizza, and pour right in. Mmm. Yum. So what I love about this glaze It's got the rind in the marmalade, the orange rind, which is that zest. So it gives you a little bit of a floral note. So it's just a break from that sweetness, and then you get the kind of tart from the orange as well. Very nice. The honey rounds it out, a nice sweetness. You get the crisp from the fried tortilla. You can hear that crunch. And the powdered sugar just makes it fun. So, that is Mexican street food. Like I said in the beginning, I was Elote'd to see you today. So, as always, like and subscribe at the bottom. Share your comments with me, and until next time, bye now.